Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty, back with the letter where we are currently playing as Marianne, who has just arrived at the Wright's penthouse. The relationship thing went up again. So let's just jump right, there's the birds again, let's just jump right in there. The elevator door opens and I am greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting.
Where are the periods?
But I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
Are they not here?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I mean, he works for Luke, so his time is probably off.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes or even 10. I sit in their living room just waiting, and when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then, there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks so far absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I am normally not this nosy. I really want to know what it is, but like my personality, I would just sit there and just be like, oh, someone fell. I'll continue waiting. I have no business with it. These rich people usually value their privacy above all else after all. Unless, of course, they're posting pictures on social media, bragging about what good people they are for allowing themselves to be interviewed for some magazine. Then again, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I don't give two about about what goes on with people like them. And I'm not going to get caught snooping about and be accused of some imagined wrongdoing. I'm not going to be some busybody detective wannabe and run off to investigate, whatever that was. It's probably just something mundane anyway, like a lamp falling over. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for Mrs. Wright. With my tea. In complete silence.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the crash, I doubt he would have heard me.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera, the LBC News would be fine. The William Walker show is on too if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does.
I kinda want to meet Johanna's husband.
The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then. Thank you. I'll let you get on with your cooking now.
Did he just ignore the crash a while ago then? Whatever. Fetching the remote, I turn on the TV in hopes of filling the silence. Trying to anyway, because the thing won't turn on. And doesn't that make the silence more awkward or what? I know it might not be the best with tech, but I'm sure I can work a simple television remote.
The batteries must be dead.
What? Hey, there's a blonde girl behind me. This is a new one. Is that Charlotte? There is blood everywhere. Help me, it says in red. I look at my own hands and find them clean, yet I can see my grisly reflection gaping back at me. And though there is nothing staining my skin, I can feel the sticky and warm feeling of blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I feel my attention drawn towards her. Her beautiful blonde hair, her soft lips with skin so fair and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, plant my lips on her neck, and run my fingers through her hair. She laughs and she smiles when she looks at me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is gone in an instant. I recoil, horrified at this reflection I am seeing. I'll let it back into something, or rather, someone. Mrs. Wright stands there, twirling a lock of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips and a hand on her hip. Let's see, Mrs.? I feel like no one called her Mrs. Wright. I almost back away, but I ground and remind myself that this is my client. And whatever I just saw, well, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that perhaps I am going a bit daft. It would be preferable, of course, to think it was all a trick of the light, or the makings of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
She's got the normal pendant on, so I think this is before she goes crazy.
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you alright, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast. I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day. Johannes is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in. You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
I'm sorry you mentioned pancakes. It triggered me. Looking down at my hands, I can see them trembling. Really? Just because she looks so much like her, I'm becoming a damn train wreck. Is she not supposed to look like her? I've been seeing her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Miss Wright at the mansion. So many blondes in the world. What was different with her? What was different this time? I just remembered something. That's a terrible lie. I'll just say I just remembered something.
I just remembered something, that's all. It's nothing to worry about.
Hey, we plussed.
Are you sure? I am all ears if there is something bothering you. I don't mind a good story, and I don't want it to affect your work performance.
Gossipy wagon, isn't she? She should just leave you alone. It's not like you need her.
You don't have to worry about that, Mrs. Wright. I say business stays business, and anything else can stay in the doghouse until I'm done with work.
I just have to bear through it, don't I? If I tell her that I'm hearing voices, that'd be a fast track straight to the nut house. What else can I do? Not sure how to feel about some of this jumping around, because it's like, we have not actually heard these voices as Marianne. Saint Dimphna? Help me lest I become like her father Damon, insane at the thought of a lost love and mad in the pursuit of another. So is Hannah not our lost love?
Shall we talk about your work then?
If you'd like. It's on your time, after all.
I've been told many good things about you, and I've seen some of your work before. Others speak very highly of your work etiquette. Yet I've never heard of you before. Not even a whisper of the McCullough name.
Well, I've only been in Luxbourne for 4 years. Tried to make it big in London for nearly 3 years before, and I've only been working these high-quality projects for the past year.
I stick straight to the point. It's best to be brief when talking to clients, after all. Keep it clean-cut as much as possible. Yet at the same time, I have to make it engaging so it doesn't look like I don't want to talk
I
to them.
imagine it hasn't been easy. I can't see why you've moved from London to Luxbourne, though.
Job vacancies were fewer at the time, and I had a lot of competition in London. Let's not even talk about the living costs there. But I'm glad I moved here, even if it hadn't been smooth sailing. If I had it easy, I probably wouldn't be working projects like these.
Why even bother explaining to her? She won't understand. She's practically born with a silver spoon in her mouth.
Who's everyone with the silver spoons?
The woman could probably snap her fingers and have servants attending to her beck and call.
She does look the part of a spoiled heiress, doesn't she? It would be a relief if she's just that. Something that's different from Mrs. Wright and her. Before she can get another word in, words that may have proven me wrong or right, she looks up at the loft with a fond expression on her face, which is a simple glance she can put in so much love that I feel a tad bit jealous of whoever holds it.
Good morning, Luke, darling.
Good morning, ladies. What a wonderful morning it is that I wake up to such a beautiful sight.
I keep seeing him every time we click on it now. Marianne visited the Wrights' penthouse to discuss work with a couple. While waiting for them, she tried to turn the telly on. She got a glimpse of her horrifying past. Hannah Wright soon showed up, asking a very spooked Marianne if she was feeling. What do you mean, past? What exactly is your past, Marianne? Marianne, you done things? You killed people? I got questions now.
I do hope you two are getting along. I smell pancakes. I do hope you two are considering a diet just so I can have them all to myself.
Don't be a pig, Luke. You eat all of those and you might stop fitting into your tight suits.
What? I'm not a pig. You don't think I'm a pig, do you, Marianne?
With his saucy smile and playful wink, I can't help but think, you are a bit of a pig, Whiskey.
I don't know, Mr. Wright. I'm an interior designer, not a zoologist.
Are pigs at zoos?
The only stars she must be familiar with are statement of works.
Well, don't be a bore. You two might not be in a rush, but I'm going to go ahead and feast.
If you dawdle too long, he'll hog all the syrup.
Rich people are so eccentric.
Come on then, we can discuss business over food.
There's no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny their invitation. Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrups, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colorful arrangement. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar. She did a few pieces. This is like a stack.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
Oh my gosh, he's back on the helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables.
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and whatever handles those sets of projects do you, Marianne?
But what if the helipad was indoors?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners.
See, she calls him Mr. John. So why doesn't Isabel?
Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be, well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is. But at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past did not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the time or place for it, however. Instead, I use this briefcase to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Where is it? There it is. The quarters?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies-in-waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde. Which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johan's in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion. But do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Is this the room she wants to make to a baby's room?
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things.
Like have a baby?
Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
Or if we have kids of our own?
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in.
She needs to sleep somewhere.
We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theater. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
Have you seen all the birds?
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
Northwest. This? I can't even see what it says.
That's sleeping quarters for the household help.
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient, so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless.
Mozart?
He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Miss Wright said so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theater, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables.
But the helipad.
That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Yes. Miss Wright has her points, though I don't really want to butt into the spat of a husband and wife. Luke likes us a little less now. Mrs. Wright has her points, though I really didn't want to butt into the spat of a husband and wife. But with the way they two were looking at me to settle this, I might as well just keep to the facts instead of giving opinion.
Mr. Wright, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough costs of these things by now, love. Masters in business administration and accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. She really didn't seem like the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Luxborn U, of course. Go Lux Dragons. Red and gold.
Excuse me? How about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Journal. Where are we? Pancakes. The mansion's arrangement were discussed over breakfast. During the meeting, the Wright couple had an argument over the mansion's arrangements. In the end, they decided a visit will settle it. Riding to the Ermengarde mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other any time. Nobody is saying anything, up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment, I think he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. I've never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I could finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze in wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
All right, Johans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday I'd like to ask how Johannes can even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least I'll only be working with him during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. Gonna pause and check the time. I'm only recording for 19 minutes. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight is far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There were no obvious marks or damage nor wear and tear, probably rethreaded during renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased with this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand. Again.
This will stay a dining hall then, but if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants, or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them, there is a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone were to see them like this, there is little doubt that they love each other.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them.
Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright now.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name.
Maybe it was Daffodil.
He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils least of all. What's next? Am I going to find out that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs.
I'm going to run into the ghost.
You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interior designer's job, but the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that has both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really don't want to be alone with whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. Oh boy. I'll check the first floor first. I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know this is just a convenient excuse. I don't want to be in the same room as whiskey anytime soon. Wait, that's not what I picked. I'm pretty sure I picked... Hold on, I'm going to pause and maybe reload. Okay, and we're back. I see what the problem is. It's the British thing of the first floor versus the ground floor. I'm not even sure what floor I'm on, but I'm gonna go to the ground floor. Alright, just because there's one troublesome client shouldn't mean I'll let him get in the way of my work. The parlor is my first destination. Mostly because I figure Mr. Wright is hiding down in the wine cellar and making plans there. I'm going to bump into him sooner or later, but I'd rather make it later. Much, much later. The place, upon closer inspection, is in good shape. I don't doubt this place was done with the most care, considering it would be one of the first rooms visitors would see during the open house. There's a stain on the carpet, most likely by one of the guests at the time, but it isn't anything a good cleaning can't get rid of. Next is the music room. Or at least that's the plan.
Locked? Oh, come on now.
I rattle the doorknob again, harder this time, to double check and even give it a good budge to see if it isn't a problem with the door itself. But no, definitely locked. That is weird, considering the rest of the rooms aren't. It could just be this one, though, and I can try the other door through the ballroom if I really want to get in. And that's when I hear it. The sound of a piano. Though it just plays one note over and over again. It makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand, and I back away from the door. Though I wasn't exactly the superstitious sort, what am I going to do? The room is locked. I can just go back to it later. Maybe see if I can go through the ballroom. The music room door opens, and who else but Luke Wright stands by the doorway. He looks a lot like a cat that ate the canary, and I didn't appreciate the way his eyes linger on me.
Isn't it common sense that locked doors mean someone wants a bit of privacy? You didn't try to break the door down.
Or did you just want to see me again that badly without the missus? I don't see why you would though, Mint. Nothing really happened between us.
Well, I wasn't looking for whiskey. I was just going around to do my inspection. Thought it needed a push, just in case the door was stuck and actually needed repairs.
So you really are some fancy interior designer, huh? Had you told me you were one, I would have called you a piss taker. I figured you'd be, I don't know, an assistant going for a drink after a week with a tosser of a boss.
I'm just glad you thought me any sort of professional with how ossified I was. I must have not looked the part, so I understand your surprise.
He doesn't offer a witty retort and goes quiet for a
At
moment.
first glance, Hannah didn't look like some fancy finance manager when I first met her either. She was the pretty daughter of this rich, powerful man. When she was introduced, they told me that she was not there as the man's daughter, but as a part of management. I thought it dubious. All the beautiful women I knew before her, they used their looks to get what they want. And there she was, with all that she could ever need in life. And yet she works hard to earn her keep.
It sounds like you admire her.
I was thinking the same thing. Hearing that, I too can't help but feel admiration for Mrs.
You
Reed.
enjoy your job, don't you, Mint?
It helps me earn my keep, as you would put it. A bit strange to say out loud, but it gives me purpose as well.
Do you think then that, maybe, Hannah would want to go back to being a working person?
Taken aback at his question, I wait for further clarification. What makes him ask this? And why me of all people, right? But when I see that no explanation is coming, I think, I should ask her. Like, she's definitely not content.
Shouldn't you be asking her this? Isn't her opinion much more important than that of someone you just met in a pub a few nights ago?
Hey, Luke likes this more.
You're a woman, and I figured you might know more. I mean, people are always saying that women are fulfilled by having husbands and having a good home.
I suspect she wants a baby.
But then, I see ones like you who look happy having jobs. Maybe she's like you, and having a job would be better for her.
Just because I'm a woman? You do know we don't all think the same way, but I don't know. I'm not married or anything, but this shouldn't be a complicated matter. She's your wife for how many years? Talk to her. Ask her what she wants. Don't you guys talk during supper or something?
That gets him thinking. Or at least it looks like
Well,
it
I
does.
should let you get back to work. Thanks for talking with me, I suppose.
Right. But anything goes awry if you take my advice. Just remember that I'm not some marriage counselor. So take it with a grain of salt.
My marriage goes down the shitter, I'll sue you. Noted.
Wait, that's not...
Too late. He takes a step back into the music room, shuts the door, and leaves me there looking gobsmacked. He wasn't serious, was he? That man, I don't understand him at all. One moment he's this huge arse, and then he's this person the next.
Odd guy. Still needs a good arse kicking if you ask me.
Okay, so forget about going into the music room then. That's fine, he'll have to go out there sooner or later. In the meantime, I can go around and check the rest of the house. She's just hearing voices and just taking it in stride. My worries fade when I step into the ballroom. And while the whole place is just grand, isn't it? I can see why the Wrights made sure nobody else would take this place from them. Anyone who has it will certainly be the belle of the ball. It's pretty much one great big status symbol. I don't think I can do much of a thorough inspection of this room, so I note it down for later. Moving on to the kitchens, I check the ventilation and the general fire safety in the kitchen. This bit is important for a place this size. I would, of course, suggest bringing an actual fire safety inspector over for a more detailed inspection. It wouldn't do to see such beautiful architecture go up in flames, after all. I take measurements of the countertops and cabinets, note down what type of wood they use. Am I going to hear crying again? They wanted some of these recreated to hide modern appliances. There's a loose floorboard in the farthest corner, some of the others had scratches, but everything else seems to be in decent shape. My concentration is broken when someone knocks.
You can come in. Door's not locked.
I wait, expecting Mrs. Wright or their butler to come in, but nobody entered. Instead, there's that knocking again. It's louder and more urgent this time, and I'm pretty sure I didn't lock the
All
thing.
right. I'm coming. Just hold on.
When I moved to open the door, though, I realized something. The knocking isn't coming from the door, but from somewhere else. The wine cellar? Trap door? I paused for a second, waiting. But the knocking has not ceased, and soon enough it becomes desperate. The dull thuds are from before switching to what seems to be scratching? Desperate and insistent at once, as if grasping for respite.
Is somebody stuck down there? Vic!
Where did that come from? How did it even get down there? That put the heart crossway in me, it did. I love cats, but they have no business giving people a fright. For a second there, all those ghastly rumors about this place had come flooding back. Now, peering into the darkness of the open trap door gets me thinking. And it gets me curious. Seriously though, I should really make sure there aren't any more surprises from down under. I don't think the Wrights would appreciate it if we find a litter of kittens making a house of the wine cellar. Mr. Wright seemed the type to skin a cat if any of his precious wines were to be contaminated. I'm done with the kitchens anyway. This place is huge. Going down a flight of stairs while wearing high heels is always a bad idea. I'd want someone with me down here. Descending into the dark underground only made it worse, but I managed anyhow without any major slip-ups.
These stairs need work, that's for sure.
Surprisingly, the wine cellar is in good condition. I see cobwebs. No water damage from last year's flooding, and apart from the dust and cobwebs that have accumulated, this place will likely hold for several more years. Racks and barrels line the walls, making the spacious room look smaller than it is. I'm no expert, but it looks good enough for immediate use without any further additions. Bloody whiskey will be having a field day. I think so anyway, until I feel something crunch beneath my feet. Whatever few bottles were left behind here are now nothing more than glass under my heels. The cat's fault, I'd wager. And it made a downright mess with red slick pulling from the remnants of a good drink. There's a lot of the stuff for just been a few bottles, though. A whole trail of it flows from the end of the room, and I follow, fully expecting a leaking barrel or a whole upturned rack. Instead, it just keeps on going, and it stops in a large puddle at the very back
What
wall.
a waste of wine. Why is it so sticky, though? Ugh.
Is it blood? It's thick, too, nothing like wine. Of course, it could just be mold.
Maybe it's not wine.
Ah!
Go on, touch it. I dare ya.
Oh, she's pretty. I like her pink outfit. Despite it all, I find myself answering, because it's her voice. Amy Lorraine. Lovely Amy. Pretty Amy. I can imagine her standing there with me, laughing and pestering me as I did my work in the way only friends can. She was my friend, the only one I had at St. Samthon's. I was a scholar, the charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down on me, if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her. Sometimes I wish for the good old days when we were friends. Now she's nothing but a ghost, though I try so hard to get over her. I really, really do. So this is not Hannah? She does look like her, though.
What am I, 5 years old? Oh, damn it, it's stuck under my shoe.
I double dare you. Hell, I double dog dare you. Don't be such a scaredy cat. It's probably wine. What else could it be? Blood?
Don't be ridiculous. Why would there be blood down here?
If I was the joking sort, I would have said that it might be the reason why the previous owner sold the place. Maybe the ghost stories were actually true and they wanted to get away from the walls that dripped of ectoplasmic goo and whatever the other ghouls haunted about. Doubt it. I hardly believe in any of that voodoo nonsense as it is, she says while speaking to ghosts. But as I stare at the mess at my feet, probably looking like a fool while I'm at it, I notice something strange. It isn't visible, unless one is really paying attention, but I can see the red gunk seeping through a crack in the wall.
What's this then?
I worry about structural damage and damage to the foundation. I worry about the wine cellar, as the wrong conditions can lead to deterioration of its contents if temperatures and humidity are not controlled. Up until I see how clean-cut the crack is. It runs along the edge of the wall and vertically along it, where a door would be. Pressing my hand against the wall lends credence to the idea that I try to feel where it would give away. Like, I keep wondering if maybe that ghost girl was, like, locked up somewhere and left to die.
Ooh. Could it be an adventure then? A secret passage. There must be a hidden switch somewhere.
Start pulling all the wine bottles.
Go look! This is the most interesting thing you've done by far.
If there's a hidden room here, that could certainly explain the discrepancy in the mansion's floor plans. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that there could be hidden rooms and passageways all over the house if we're to follow that logic. And boy, isn't that exciting. This feels like something straight out of a game. Suddenly she touches my arm and I flinch away in shock. That shouldn't be possible. I understand auditory hallucinations, maybe even visual hallucinations, but that
You
was...
look surprised. What's wrong?
You? That's not possible. You're...
dead.
Aren't you happy to see a dear old friend, though? I'm hurt, I am.
How'd she die? Did we kill her?
What the hell is going on here?
You were talking to her and you just thought, what, you were hallucinating?
Oh, isn't it obvious? I've come back for you, so that we can be together again.
Oh boy. When she touches me once more, I recoil. What does she mean together again? She's dead.
No! Leave me alone!
Leave you alone? But I just got here.
Turning around, I met with the Wrights butler who looks at me with an indifferent look. And when I look back, Lorraine's gone.
I wasn't talking to you, just thinking aloud is all.
I'm gonna pause for a second. Okay, so I wasn't talking to you, just thinking aloud is all.
You should really avoid talking to yourself, Kint. Do more of that and others will think you're insane.
Yes, thank you. Is that all you're here for, or has your master sent you running down here for something?
Don't need to be rude to him.
Oh, no, I am just down here to admire the place. I've not been inside before. I thought I would look around before we return to the city.
Is this where the bodies are buried, Johannes?
The car is already running, you see, and I suggest you go back to the foyer, unless you wish to be left behind. It seems you are in good company already, after all, with this house and your imaginary friend.
I want to find the secret passage.
Wait, we're leaving already? But I haven't finished inspecting the rest of the house.
Be that as it may, there's a sulking man-child up there who wishes to go home. We are all subject to his whims, lest he throw a tantrum.
I like Johannes. I can't help but smile at that. He's a strange guy. I still can't imagine how he can work for a guy like Luke Wright, though. I imagine the blonde arse ain't an easy guy to get along with. Whatever the butler was having to tolerate, I want 10 of it.
And we wouldn't want any soiled knickers or spilled milk. Why don't you go head on and I'll be right there.
Very well. Do be careful on your way back. I saw some broken glass on the way, and it will not do to cut yourself on them.
I will, yeah. Just tell Mr. Wright not to blow a gasket or anything. I'll be just a minute.
Speaking of blowing gaskets, there's something else dangerous here. Whatever is behind that door, it could pose some problems. Best case scenario, it'd only ruin good stocks of wine. But who knows what's behind that false wall? I'll have to come back to it. I want to look now. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars up above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself much more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars, and Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It is the crunch of the grass under my heel that brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job?
I signed a contract already.
I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there. The curious thing in the wine cellar, which is stuff I'd only read about from horror stories. And her. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say that I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down, but for some obstinate reason I can't. In the same manner I haven't let go of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead, it's something I've terribly missed, and now that it's here, almost within arm's reach, my father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through with it, consequences be damned. And well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no, except the ghosts. At least it's something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Why did I always say Lorraine when her name is Amy? Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. Journal. Oh, look at her drawing. Marianne examined the ground floor upon arrival of the mansion, with Luke Wright barring her entry into the music room. She headed to the wine cellar. A ghost from her past visited her there. Despite that, she gave her word that she would see through the project until the end. From the mansion and through Anselm, I rode with them in silence. But as soon as we hit the city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them goodnight. I thought it best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have, shouldn't have, won't. Should it be should have? I assured them my place isn't that far off, and I have to fight with the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own home, peace is elusive, as is sleep. I lie awake thinking of what I saw in that mansion, or who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much as see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad, but none of that happens, and it makes me feel hollow. For 2 nights, I've had trouble sleeping, but it's only one morning, when fatigue has already let me rest, that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. I want to know about her past. Really. In my restless dreams, I see that mirror. I'm having Silent Hill 2 flashbacks. The one in the study. And in it, I see her. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. What the frick is this? Hannah and Lorraine.
Poor pathetic Marianne. Work, work, work. She'll work herself to death.
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk among themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather, to themselves. 2 heads, 1 body. Horrible mockery of these women as if they were the one insane.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ear, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It is only then that they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn toward me, and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Character smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other's grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite, unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty gal.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
This looks pretty lewd already.
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
I wonder if she took her own life because we said that. My breath hitches, and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie! We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge. I wake, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find a certain fluff ball sitting on my chest looking as pleased as Punch. She is the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't stay mad at her majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall is a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots toward the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start the move, despite that. Rich people like them always find ways to get what they want after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party. But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. The place is already busy as soon as I get there. The foreman, one that I've recommended the Wrights for his work ethic as early as usual, already he's instructing men here and there with bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up at the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers and the mirror from the sun.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it. If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there.
How is there a mirror in the study anyway?
Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yeah?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
The movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling goes into my stomach as I see a reflection on the bloody thing. It's the mirror from my dream. Okay. Mrs. Wright only shakes her head and laughs at her husband's antics as they take the mirror out of here. He's back and at it again soon enough, pointing the men here and there. I'd say he's the man with a plan, but it sort of interferes with the layout and design we've agreed upon before. I'm about to point it out,
It's
but...
better you let him realize his mistakes on his own, rather than tell him of them. That way you do not get blamed for his actions. It is more fun, too, to tell him, how does they say it? I told you so, once he slips up.
Been working with him long enough to know that, huh?
It's not like I plan to make much of a fuss unless what he changes is actually crucial.
It happens often enough, when one is made to accompany him nearly all hours of the day.
Up, higher. Come on now.
Still, he could at least be less pushy about things.
Careful now. I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
It is surprising how hands-on he is compared to my usual clientele. Well, the both of them are, actually. It's refreshing to have them participate despite their initial reluctance.
Luke, do the dishwashers go into the kitchen or the butler's pantry?
Pantry, Buttercup. Careful, that's Emma No, you there, put that down. You do not manhandle a Napoleon Abueva.
He really needs to tone down the dramatics a notch. Mrs. Wright and the butler look like they're used to it by now. But the rest of us, well...
Sweetie, why don't we go and sort your suits upstairs? Let your Hans and Marianne and the foreman deal with the rest of the work.
We have this, Mrs. Wright.
Yes, please do go before a blood vessel bursts. Bloodstains are so troublesome to clean.
There is an obvious sense of relief as Mr. Wright is dragged out of the room, leaving the movers to do their work in peace. Some grumbling even comes from some of the younger workers. It's a good thing that the family butler isn't so blindly loyal tool to his boss, or there will be trouble with Mr. Wright.
He is such a bratwurst. Whiny baby who never got enough hugs from his mutter.
Probably lost in translation, and not that I'm condoning talking about someone else behind their back, but I think you meant to call Mr. Wright a horrible brat.
Well, he is that too. There are a lot of things I can call him, but I mean to say that he is a big weenie. A childish name for a childish person. Like a child, he whines when he doesn't get what he wants, and he breaks the toys that he has.
That gets a laugh from me, as well as a few of the other movers who linger near. He and I carry boxes, instructing the movers where they should be, and generally taking over Mr. Wright's work. I really hope Johannes doesn't die. Goes off without a hitch, and the man is helpful, efficient, and capable of physical labor, despite his clean-cut appearance. A gentleman to boot, taking boxes from me when he sees me struggling with them. Speaking of boxes...
Hey, one of the boxes for the kitchen is missing. Has anyone seen it? The one with the pots and the knives.
Oh great, the knives are
The
missing.
bratwurst had it brought upstairs, thinking it was for the attic.
Why would he... Oh, never mind. I'll go get it.
No, don't go to the attic. Why even bring a box of pots and knives to the attic? That man is ridiculous. There's probably no point in making sense of what he does if he does them just because he can. At least it turns out that I don't have to make it all the way up to the attic. The mover probably Mr. Wright's orders. Let the box
At
downstairs.
least it's not that heavy.
I managed to hoist it up without too much effort, but the time it takes for me to do that is long enough for me to overhear an odd conversation I could never in my life imagine coming from a couple like the Wrights.
If you're not careful, I might go a bit loopy and I'll start bringing cats home. And soon enough, one day you'll find yourself going home to a farm just filled with felines that follow you everywhere.
Oh, don't bluff. The things that shred up your precious furniture. Besides, you don't even like cats.
True. Dogs are infinitely superior, of course.
Well, we are not being their bosses anymore.
What about the wet dog smell? The mess.
I actually don't like cats or dogs myself. Like, they're fine in other people's homes, but...
If you think about it, a cat would be better.
For once, I'll have to agree with Whiskey on this one. Though I can live with Mrs. Wright being a dog person. But as amusing as this conversation might be, I really shouldn't be caught eavesdropping or slacking off on the job. At most, I should be looking at ways of possibly soundproofing certain rooms, perhaps bringing it up if they don't realize the lack of it. Ooh. I'll move on. Oh good. I've plussed with both of them. I just chose to move on because it's like... There's nothing to really eavesdrop on here. Like, they're not talking about something I care about, like me. And I have work to do. No matter how bizarre their conversation might get, I really must go. Not to mention, just standing there when I have no reason to loiter just feels wrong. Besides, the magic word here is privacy, and I respect that. Keep it in mind, and I won't have a guilty conscience filled to the brim with secrets of the rich and famous in my hands. I'll take the stairs 2 steps at a time, if I wasn't in danger of getting stabbed by my baggage and if nobody else was in the foyer. But as Johannes takes the box from me, I only give him a small smile. There is no reason to gossip about the particular conversation of his employers. He's probably heard much odder things from them, and he doesn't seem to be a cat or dog person either. As soon as I follow him to the kitchen, he raises a hand to stop me.
Nine. I know you are very skilled in architect, and I have seen your work, but this shall be my kitchen, and I shall fix it according to my wishes. Yeah?
Kind of weird. Anyone would think that pots and knives are supposed to go anywhere but the kitchen, huh?
I assume he's gotten them confused. It wouldn't be the first time.
Confused? How does that even work? I understand covers, carpets, or even curtains getting mixed up. Hey, I'd even understand pots being mixed up with silver decor, but knives?
Oh, he has a collection of ornamental ones from his father. It takes him everywhere he goes, wherever he moves.
I guess that makes sense? A bit. Still odd.
He merely shrugs before going back to work. The movers work efficiently even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes, standing in the doorway to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then, but they pretty much have everything up to standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all as well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast. What is a bubble and squeak? He makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the Wrights, but well done
That
nonetheless.
smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts as they are preoccupied.
If there are any left, one can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I think we do technically eat fish and chips. I really do hate getting so up and close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It is obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I heard and what I learned about the Wright couple. The cat and dog conversation? These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester and crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up, and the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and
Don't!
I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder. It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared, though I don't believe in the likes of spooks. Being startled is not on top of the things Marianne liked. Trapped in the log. Lucky for him, I have nothing within reach, or he would have gotten on friendly terms with something like a rolling
What was
pin.
with that reaction? Were you really scared? Has Johann's been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Gurium?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost cruel. But neither of them spoke, even as Johannes leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
I'm sure you're one of the playable characters, so you'll learn.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of this place turning out to be haunted are true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. I want to go back to the wine cellar. Hearing little and seeing a dead person isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means there would be such things as ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright, you haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I noticed the man stiffen as the question leaves my mouth. I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reaction intently, but his eyes, I see something dangerous.
It depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted?
What are you up to, Mr. Wright? You doing things?
Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johann's and he'll have security handle it.
Sounds like he'll handle it himself.
But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange, but yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't gonna go over
None that
well.
I know of. But I'll inform Johann's immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
He is getting suspicious.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he have on the talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant, smug smirk returns, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he was at the ready never comes though, as voices from the dining hall ring out.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
So he heard us! Good thing we didn't lie, although he still got mad at us.
Nah, I just freelance mostly for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do, at least not all the time.
That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion, no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like she's working on the photographer, too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least if a small scow is anything to go by. Is he jealous? I'll ask if he's alright.
Hey, are you alright there, Whiskey? You're looking like you need a serious drink.
Oh, we plussed him. Yay.
What is it that you want to do then?
Films. Documentaries mostly, but cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on this thing, actually.
I'm fine. Just a bit winded from all that moving about. It's been a long day.
You should just talk with your wife, maybe.
And the day's not over yet. So if you can excuse the bloodness, you either shape up to help or ship out back to your room and let us do the rest of the work.
He hesitates, eyes locked firmly on the door that led to the dining hall. Even now, we can still hear as Mrs. Wright and the photographer chit-chat in between shots.
It's not my place to say this, but she really does seem to care a lot about you, you know?
There's no need to remind me of that.
A strange smile appears on his face before he shuts his eyes and
Tell the
sighs.
workers that you're all dismissed early.
That's nice and all, Whiskey. But we really shouldn't just take off. Delays aren't a good thing when it comes to big projects like these. The sooner we tackle certain issues, the better.
And I trust you can take care of these issues another day. Don't make me ask again, Mint. Just tell the others they can go home early. And to not worry, they'll still get paid the remaining hours.
I don't know what prompted this. With the air he's putting on, though, I know better than to meddle and prod further. Besides...
Fine, you're the boss.
Walking out of the kitchen, I just accept the fact that whatever he says will go well under his roof. Mrs. Wright and the photographer are still far too busy in conversation to notice me, even as I make my way through the dining hall. Besides, I didn't want to ruin their
Well,
fun.
it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
People don't like a film about colors. I suppose they would have liked Blue Bibby a lot more.
We went to the foyer as maybe stumble upon the family butler once more, who raises a brow at my presence.
And where are you off to in a hurry, Miss McCulloch? The foreman is looking for you.
The Bratwurst wants us off the clock. He's dismissing us early because of... Oh, I don't know. He just wants us out of here.
I'll go and call a cab for you then. It would be for the best that you leave when he asks you to.
I don't doubt it. Journal! Oh, here we are. Oh, the babies! Is us. To keep her mind off of things that haunted her, Marianne McCullough focused on assisting the Wrights during their move-in. Later that afternoon, she was seen chatting with Luke Wright, who then demanded she and the rest of her crew take an early leave. My ride back to this city doesn't take too long to get here. Granted, there were some difficulties at first because the driver didn't know where the Ermengarde mansion is. How is that possible? He tried to have us hand over GPS coordinates from our smartphones or some other technobabble I didn't care about, and the butler didn't understand. But as soon as we told him it's that haunted mansion over in Anselm Village, he knew just the place. And finally headed over, albeit with some hesitation. All the way back to the city, the driver keeps complaining about the place giving him the willies. It give me the willies too. I would have loved to snap at him. But as soon as the thought occurs to me, another blossoms at the forefront of my mind. One that has somehow bothered me greatly, more than my exasperation over whiskey and this project, or wanting all of it to stop. There has been no Lorraine whispering over my ears today. Worse, I find myself searching for it, searching for her. The damn new year 3 loose ends, looking bloody loose ends everywhere. I thought I've already moved past this years ago, and it does nothing to help me curb my frustration. If anything, it only ensures that I want a stiff drink. And where else do I go to drink? What if we run into Luke? Tuesdays are for karaoke, and Wednesdays improv. Usually it's these 4 guys who do hilarious games. The one with the Irish drinking songs are always a crowd favorite. Though I love a good laugh, stand-up comedy isn't my thing, and without camera Haruna or any other distractions, I end up drinking a lot more this time. And when there are several bottles of beer in front of me, I get really, really embarrassing.
Hey! G! Psst! G, come over here. I need you for something.
It's a good thing that the bartender is a nice fellow. I'd probably have been kicked out of other places by now, or worse. If push comes to shove, all he would do is give me an easy smile and shake of his head, even when he's attending other customers. I'm gonna pause for a second. If push comes to shove, all he would do is give me an easy smile and a shake of his head, even when he's attending to other customers. Just like now.
Give me a moment, will ya? I gotta go check on her.
He's some Asian guy. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him here before a couple of times, though he never talks to anyone else except G. Oh, is it Ash? The girls used to be all over him too, but he always turned them away.
I'll be here. You go do that before she falls over.
Asian Joe?
All right. What is it?
Like, I'm not crazy, right? Like, the priest and the cop and this bartender, they all look like the same dude. We're also 59 minutes in, so...
Do you need someone to help you get home?
Yeah, we gotta record.
Bartender, pour the wine. fine.
I think that's enough alcohol for you, little missy. I'm cutting you off.
Wine comes from the back of my throat as he pulls my bottle away. I have no hope of getting them back once they're behind the counter. Even in my drunken mind, I don't dare hop over it for them, because what little sense I have left knows I'd sooner take a floor dive than succeed in wresting a bottle from a sober man. But that doesn't stop me from trying to reach out with my arms like a stupid idiot anyway. He smiles and shakes his head just like I knew he would before going back to the other car.
Right now, where were we? How you holding up, boy?
With no drink and no one to really chat with, I would have gone home or gone to sleep on the bar right then and there. But I'm not ready to stand up and try to trek back home.
Same old, same old. I'm still on the Luxborn firm case.
Those blokes they talk about being in dark suits, whisking people into the night or some shit and all that. Didn't the media call it some ridiculous name in the morning news?
What is it this time? Wait, don't answer that. They've called it a lot of things. As long as people don't start running around claiming they're the Illuminati. So, what have you got for me this time, G? Anything good?
Slow down there. You haven't even told me what sort of dealing dosh we got. Who are you looking into this time?
Their talk would have interested me, would have kept my attention if I gave a damn. But in my current state, I can barely give two fucks about the things going on around me. All these words are just buzzing, barely surfacing from the sea of sounds that is the pub. And it would have stayed that way, perhaps even drowned if I didn't hear his name. We know it's Luke Wright.
Luke Wright. You know the guy, and don't pretend like you don't, G. It takes a special kind of ignorant not to know who he is.
That smug blonde who likes throwing around his money. He was just here a few days ago, as a matter of fact.
Don't mention me.
Great tipper. If you think him just dumping a wad of cash on the counter after having too much whiskey counts as tipping.
Sounds like a great tip.
Why are you asking? He dirty?
You have no idea, G. He's probably the worst sort you can imagine.
Luke fucking Wright. Fucking whiskey. Even without him around, I'm still hearing about the guy. What the absolute fuck. Despite this, I find myself getting up and sauntering over to join them before I pipe
Is
up.
this smack talk about Luke fucking Wright I'm hearing, eh?
Private conversation here, lady.
Shut up, Ashton. There's only amusement on G's face. The Asian guy, he starts to look ticked off his
Don't worry, Holmes. She's clean. And she might be able to help you with your, predicament.
Of course. A drunk's just stumbled through here with what I need. Get real, G. No offense, lady, but you're smashed.
I know, right? Nothing beats being drunk after a hard day's work. Especially when you're working for Mr. Luke Wright.
So, she works for the guy? Doesn't that make her, I don't know, suspect?
See, have a little faith in me, why don't ya? I don't have much, and you might as well have something to go off. You're the one who was so desperate to come running to me for business.
Yoo-hoo! Still right here, fellas. 5'11". Can't miss me. Unlike Shorty over here. What's with that mad look? You want to dance, boy? You don't look like you can bust a groove. Maybe a leg, but with that fancy coat of yours.
Chad insult to injury, I move directly behind him and use the top of his head as an armrest. But when he shakes me off, I plop into the seat right next to him.
Don't try me. You can hardly stay on your feet.
You can't beat up a drunk lady, Ashton. Like, that would
We don't want to ruin your fancy coat, do we?
Ah, children, the both of ya. But you're still standing after all that, are ya? Matt, you see this giantess? She's a legendary regular here. Been drinking like there's no tomorrow. I'm a bit jealous. Can't do that anymore or my liver will give out on me. Good with the mic, too. Don't see you much recently, but I guess you're always busy, aren't you? You're some fancy designer or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, I know you. You were at the open house for the mansion.
Yeah, that's right. Marianne I'm a famous interior designer extraordinaire. Ooh, that rhymes. Anyway, you guys were talking about that weenie Luke Wright, right?
Or something. Can't really talk about it. I don't even know if I can trust you. Even if G said you're clean. But anything would be of help.
Talk about trusting, but it's like she's not gonna remember any of this.
I don't gossip about my clients, if that's all there is to this.
You wanted to gossip about him a few minutes ago, Marianne.
And that was the beer talking, not Marianne.
You won't mind if we ask the beer a few questions then?
Maybe. Depends on who's asking and what they're asking. But seriously, that guy is abso-fucking-lutely frustrating. One moment, he's an absolute dickhead. And then he's acting like an actual decent human being the next. I just can't figure him out.
I'm with you, Marianne.
I can't imagine how that pretty wife of his can put up with him. If I were her, I'd dump his flat arse straight up.
And I'm not just saying that because I think Han is pretty or anything. Luke is a catch too, they both are. But but I really cannot, for the love of all things holy, see how they even work out.
So, Luke Wright, have you noticed anything strange about him while you were working with him? Anything peculiar? Of note?
You're the one being peachy right about now, Holmes. But nah, nothing that comes to mind off the top of my head. He's just like most rich, smarmy arseholes and then some.
A giggle bubbles up and I press my cheek against the cool countertop with my eyes shut just because. Eventually, cracking one eye open just in case they thought I fell asleep again, I grinned at Holmes.
So, Holmes, I'm guessing you're some private detective or something. Is it Hannah? Did she pay you to look if he's been cheating or some such?
Hannah's the wife, right? What about her? How is she?
How is she or how is she? Well and good. Definitely the nicer of the two and sexy as sin to boot. Not a private detective then. Are you from one of them tabloids wanting to know if the Luke Wright doesn't know how to put his pants on right? Pants. I'd take the pants off of...
And here we go. Slipping. I haven't been this drunk in a long time. It's a miracle I've been coherent for as long as I have been right
I'm
now.
asking you if you've noticed any odd behavior from her.
Odd behavior? What? I wonder how she'd be drunk. I can just imagine her like the giggly sort. What do you think?
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G. She's not a reliable source. The chief, let alone the courts, aren't going to take the word of a drunk. This will be dismissed, and I might be in trouble if they try to argue that I coerced a testimony out of her. This is a fucking train wreck.
You're a fucking train wreck now, if you ask me. Maybe it's about time you apply the brakes and stop for a bit.
The wave of despair that comes over both of them is palpable. If feelings had a taste, it'd be bitterer than the beer I'm full of. And it gets me thinking, though thinking doesn't get me far with too much shite in my system.
You know that's not an option. Thanks for being patient, McCullough. Good luck with your work on that mansion.
Speaking of that mansion, there's something going on in that place. Something. As och day! No wonder Mr. Wright likes it so much. It's as fishy as he is. Rotten bloke. Maybe that Santos girl is really onto something, eh? Suspicious shite, I'm telling ya. Explains why she's so reluctant.
What do you mean that Santos girl is onto something?
Before I get another word out, there's hands on my shoulders and everything starts to spin. I quickly slap his hands away the best I can and send him the foulest look I can muster.
Take your hands off me, pipsqueak. I'm not a lady who's shaken or stirred unless you want me upchucking on your pretty hair. But it's just like I said. Are you sure you aren't brain damaged or deaf? Santos girl from VRC showed us this creepy letter. You know, just like those spam stuff you get in your emails. And we thought it was some joke or that the girl was just a bit too green to handle a big sale like that. You should have seen the look on their faces when they saw it. Whiskey, that's Luke fucking Wright, you get me? And the missus didn't look too happy either. I should have taken a picture and posted it everywhere. When rich snobs give you that face, no wonder the Santos girl went all mental on us. Working with them does that, you know? I think I'm about to. I'm not mental yet, am I? Anyway, just like I said, in that man... Hey, you okay? Holmes? You're looking a bit shaky yourself there.
And he really is pale, paler than before at least. I can see the gears turning in his head in overtime. Suddenly he shoves a card in my hand. On it, his name, Ashton Frey, and his number. But he has second thoughts and grabs it from me and slips it into my pocket.
You're cute, pretty boy. But I prefer blondies.
Well, you're not exactly my type either, lady. But listen to me. If something comes up, don't do anything rash. If you think you're in danger or if you see anything suspicious, call me and the authorities as soon as possible. You understand me? That's 99...
I know what the damn emergency number is.
Right, 999. Good. Anyway, I have to run. See you, G.
The guy's quick on his feet, already up and at him as soon as the numbers leave his lips. Babies. The interior designer once again drank her frustrations away at the crawl bar. Albeit heavily intoxicated, she was seen chatting with Ashton Frey, a detective inspector working for the LPD, about Luke Wright. Before abruptly leaving, the detective left her his calling card. You gotta hurry, this part is gonna be really long. Watching him as he maneuvers through the crowd of other pubgoers is enough to tire me out. Fast as he can, he's out the door and throws us a smile, and that's all we get before he's gone. Just like
Oi, what about your drink, boy? I'll go put it on your tab then.
Holmes boy always like that, G?
Pretty much. But what about you? I suppose I'll put your drinks on your tab too. Don't want you to spill your wallets when you look like you're close to spilling yourself.
Yeah, and if it's fine by you, I think I'll go take a bit of a cat nap here. Just for a sec or two.
Go right ahead. I'll wake you when I close up shop.
Mumbling with sleepy thanks, I doze off on the spot, face pressed on the counter. Already, I dread the pain I'll have for sleeping in such a position. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite, unless you ask, that is.
Not that I can get much sleep to begin with. Good, we can cut this part here. So yeah, we gotta end this part here. It's gonna be over an hour long. I don't know what to say. I want to know what's happening. We still haven't even gotten to, like, Rebecca or Luke or Ashton yet. So, like, how long is this game? We're gonna have, like, 20,000 parts. Well, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!